a spark erupted on the set of a 1930s Hollywood blockbuster that turned into a decades-long mystery. Young, naive Loretta Young and charming but married Clark Gable, their story could have become a script for melodrama, if not for one fateful moment. Who sent the mysterious telegram that hid the actress from her fans, and why her daughter for life became living proof of a forbidden connection? Secrets, deceit, scandal, and blackmail. This history of Hollywood will make you look at the brilliance of the golden age of cinema in a new way. In the strictest secrecy, in the small California town of Venice, at home on November 6, 1935, 22-year-old unmarried actress Loretta Young gave birth to a healthy baby girl. That same day in New York, going to the premiere of the movie Mutiny on the Bounty, 34-year-old Clark Gable received a telegram, the sender of which wished to remain anonymous. Beautiful, dead-eyed, white-eyed girl, born today at 8:15 a.m. The recipient became nervous and hurriedly disposed of the message. In early 1935, Loretta Young and Clark Gable starred in the adventure movie Call of the Ancestors, based on Jack London's work of the same name. In the story, Jack Thornton, Clark Gable, and his partner go in search of a gold mine. Along the way, they rescue Claire Blake, Loretta Young, the wife of their dead rival. Claire and Jack fall in love with each other and find gold, but Claire's husband turns up alive. There was an atmosphere of easy flirtation on the set. Natural shooting took place in the wilderness Mount Baker, about 3 hours from Seattle, in an atmosphere of snowstorms and at a temperature of about 10 degrees below zero. Often the actors warmed up with brandy and had fun. Whenever Gable looked for Loretta, he'd yell, "Where's my girl?" And she, flattered by the attention, laughed. Despite the sincere sympathy for his partner on the set, Loretta did not allow herself anything extra. She was infatuated with another man and dreamed of Spencer Tracy, with whom she recently began a romantic relationship. The girl checked her mail daily. Was there a long-awaited letter from Tracy? In February, the group was returning by overnight train to Hollywood. Loretta had a separate compartment. During the night, Clark stopped by to see her. What happened between him? Loretta kept quiet for years. In her mind, the word rape was too extreme for the situation. After all, it happens to women in back alleys, and when your no isn't considered a no, and it happens to an acquaintance, a friend, a co-worker, what kind of rape is that? A short time later, one of Loretta's sisters, while at home, heard suppressed sobs coming from her room. Polly quietly opened the door. A frightened Loretta whispered, "I don't know how it could have happened. It was only once." "Maybe you're wrong. Maybe it's just a cycle failure." Loretta shook her head desperately. The sisters decided to tell their mother. Mrs. Young clutched her head. What kind of girl is this? At 17, she had secretly eloped with 26-year-old actor Grant Withers to Arizona and married him there. Mrs. Young raised her children as zealous Catholics, and there you have it. Not only did her daughter have an affair, that was half the trouble, but the fact that her chosen one was not Catholic, the mother could not forgive. However, not even a year later, Loretta returned to her father's house, having played the wife and disappointed in the marriage. Her mother refused to speak to her and forced her sisters to do the same. The boycott lasted a long time, but what happened now is just awful. Plus, Gable was married. Mrs. Young immediately called the family doctor, Dr. Halloran, and asked him to examine her daughter. The doctor confirmed Loretta's pregnancy and set the expected delivery date for early November. There was no question of abortion for the devout family. At the family council, they decided to conceal Loretta's pregnancy and pass the child off as adopted. Loretta didn't go to the end of shooting party organized by Clark's socialite wife Rhea, although she had been personally invited by Mrs. Gable. First of all, she was terribly sick, and secondly, she was childishly afraid of meeting the father of the future child and his wife, who was older than Gable, to think of it, by 17 years. Had the bosses of MGM learned of her pregnancy, most likely she was forced to have an abortion, as they did with Jean Harlow, Judy Garland, and others. Even worse, a terrible scandal would have erupted, and the reputations of the two stars would have suffered. Hollywood, in the first half of the 20th century, was very reverent about the moral character of actors. Stars could even be punished for any kind of illicit liaison. Ms. Young needed to finish shooting in 2 movies, while her belly was still unnoticeable. On April 21st, Loretta appeared for the last time in public on the occasion of the wedding party of Hollywood director Ty Garnett, where she looked very tired and exhausted. There was an explanation for this. Lately, she had been working 18 hours a day. Soon, there were rumors of Ms. Young's illness. On June 29th, Loretta and her mother went to Europe to improve her health. Upon her return, Loretta gave an interview to the Hollywood press, lying in bed and covered with many blankets to hide her belly. Ms. Young assured that she was feeling better and on the mend. Her mother and sisters transported Loretta to a small cottage rented in advance, where the delivery was to take place. On the due date, she gave birth to a daughter whom she named Judy. For a short time after the birth, she stayed with a patronage nurse, Frenchie, who helped Loretta care for the baby. Dr. Holloran, who delivered the baby, filed Judy's birth papers on November 13, 1935, listing the baby's mother as Margaret Young, an artist in the motion picture industry, with a dash in the father column. Loretta gradually recovered from childbirth, and on New Year's Eve, bandaged chest, shone at a party at the producer Sam Goldwyn. Her daughter, who was staying with a nurse in the same cottage, Loretta visited at the first opportunity. Nurse Frenchie, conspiring with the housekeeper, decided to blackmail the Young family by threatening to give out information. But the housekeeper warned Loretta. Something had to be done quickly to avoid rumors. Judy was placed in a Catholic orphanage. In June 1937, Loretta publicly announced the adoption of 2 little girls through Luella Parsons's socialite column. Parsons broke the news. Movie star Loretta Young confided to me today that she is about to become an adoptive mother. One girl is 4 years old, and the other is almost 2. To all questions, Ms. Young replied, "I can't tell you how I got these children, but I want to forget as soon as possible that they are not mine." Soon, Loretta announced with great regret that the older girl had a relative who demanded her back, and she was left with only baby Judy, whose date of birth had been changed to avoid various rumors. Nevertheless, in Hollywood, many guessed who the father of the child, noting the similarity in appearance of Gable and Judy, the same eyes, nose, ears, which, as the girl grew older, became more and more noticeable. Judith's ears were the same Upper-Piriani as Gable's, and Loretta, always in public, covered the head of the little girl with a hat or curls. In 1940, Young married producer Tom Lewis. Before the wedding, Loretta told her future husband, "There should be no hush-hush between us. If there's anything you want to know, ask and I'll tell you." Tom kissed her and replied, "No, honey, it's all right." And from that time on, 5-year-old Judy took the name Lewis. The girl grew up to be just like her father. By the age of 7, she had to have a small operation on her ears, a tuplasty. Soon, Judith had younger brothers, Christopher and Peter. When Judy was 15, Gable, as if by chance, came to visit her. He asked Lewis about her life, hobbies, success in school, and then leaving, kissed her on the forehead. It was the only time the girl had ever spoken to Gable, and at the time, she had no idea he was her father. Rumors picked up by Hollywood gossip columnists only confirmed her suspicions. Judy began to feel unwanted and alone. Like any adopted child, the girl repeatedly asked her mother about her biological parents, but never received a direct answer. Judy learned only in 1958 about her father. The girl was 23 years old, and she was proposed to by a young man named Joe Tinney. Judy said no. "You know everything about yourself. I don't know anything about myself." The guy replied, "You don't know? Everybody knows your father is Clark Gable." On Mother's Day, according to Judy's half-brother Christopher, Loretta and her daughter had a fight. Judy demanded that her mother tell the truth about her origins. Loretta retired to her room, citing poor health, and said nothing. It was one thing to be conceived in love, but it was another. Clark Gable died at the age of 59 in 1960. In 1994, Judy wrote a book, Uncommon Knowledge, which begins, "My life has been filled with hypocrisy and deceit from the moment I was born." Loretta forbade the book's publication and the disclosure of family secrets. After the book was published, the mother stopped communicating with her daughter for 3 years. All this time, Loretta successfully filmed, won new awards, was a respected person, an exemplary mother, and a zealous Catholic, helping charities and orphanages. During her career, she starred in more than 100 films and won the 1948 Oscar for Best Actress for her role in The Farmer's Daughter. Loretta simply decided to never tell anyone if her daughter was Clark Gable's daughter, and this decision she considered the only right one. She spent her entire life hiding what happened on set, while her own daughter toppled her from her pedestal, calling her a hypocrite. When Loretta Young was in her 80s, she confessed to her daughter-in-law what had really happened to her. Judith did marry Joe Tinney and gave birth to a daughter, Maria. She earned a degree in family psychotherapy, starred in TV series, and produced movies. As she became an adult, Lewis spoke of her bitterness and confusion, the isolation and alienation she felt in her own family while growing up. At the age of 76, she passed away from lymphoma, outliving her mother by only 11 years.